What's going on, everybody? Appreciate y'all joining. So tonight I'm going to be doing 1 or 2 best ball drafts. And appreciate y'all stopping by. Going to give people a few minutes to trickle in. Going to go ahead and send out a quick tweet here on Twitter, X, just so everybody knows that we're live. So give me just 1 second here, and then we will get started. So going to be doing 1 or 2 best ball drafts tonight. And with that, should be a good time. We'll be talking about players and just overall prices on the board, things of that nature. So let's go ahead and get this sent out. Looks like it's already out. So let's see, just get this going. Alrighty. All right, let's jump into the little board real quick just to see how quickly this is filling. Sometimes I like to start with the $3 entries, just kind of get warmed up. But let's see what it looks like. Oh, try again. All right, little board. All right, so real quick before we jump in, for those that don't know, the little board is a 20 entry max, $3 per entry, and there's 189,000 entries in this tournament. This is a 20 round draft, and payout is 100,000, 50,000, 25,000, and so on and so forth. The advancement rate is 2 out of 12, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10 with a 315 seat final. So gotta be pretty aggressive in these drafts. Let's go ahead and see what the fill rate looks like. Okay, we're waiting for 10 people, so this is going to be a while. So I'm going to exit this, and we're just going to go straight into big board. Let's do this. All right, I'll recap for the big board. For those that don't know, this is a $10 entry, and you get a total of 150. There's 223,200 entrants in this tournament. Advancement rate is 3 out of 12, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10 with a 558 seat final and a grand prize award of 200,000 for first. Go ahead and confirm, and we will see how this one fills. I imagine this one's going to go much quicker. It's 10:48 my time. I think we'll be in pretty good shape for this to fill up relatively quickly. While we wait, let's see. I'll do a couple little promo things here while we wait for this to fill. For those that aren't already following me on Twitter or X, go ahead and you can check out my page at FantasyFitIO, and you will see my Twitter page here. From there, you can get to the most recent project I'm working on, which is FantasyFitness.io. FantasyFitness.io is a player research, team research website. I also have integrated the website, or I should say added a feature on the website that allows you to integrate your FFPC, Sleeper, and Yahoo rosters. So when you do the integration, you can click on an individual team, and this is going to pull live from that particular platform. In this case, I'm pulling up my FFPC Dynasty number 208 league, where I am the Berlin Ballers. It's a Dynasty format, PPR, tight end premium, and you can see some nice things about the roster construction, player team breakdown, bye week breakdown, stacks, overalls, team metrics, and then injury summary of your roster. Get contract information about each player. You can put individual notes on each player for that particular roster. Those get surfaced up here so you can see all your notes in one quick view. You can see your league roster, league standings, and league roster. So this will pull in all of your, this is going to pull in all of your other league mates' rosters. So you can see their rosters and their team breakdowns, their draft picks. So you get a pretty nice glimpse into kind of just the landscape of your league. And you can do some AI trade options here to generate some different trade ideas. That's just one thing that Fantasy Fitness has to offer. Additionally, each player gets their own player profile page. We can click on a player and view kind of a breakdown of each individual player from some of the algorithms that we've developed here at Fantasy Fitness to their statistical production, athleticism, team environment, tail of the tape, positional competition, and coaches. So I find all that stuff to be pretty useful. Something that is definitely worth checking out. Most of these features, when it comes to the players and team profiles, are free. So yeah, definitely check that out. I think you guys will enjoy it. I'll tell you more about it, but I'm not great at self-promotion. So, I'll let you guys go out there and kind of figure it out for yourself. I don't want to be too salesy here on this call. Now we're 8 away. This could take a minute, so we'll just give it. Hopefully some folks are coming out of some other rooms, and then when that happens, things usually kind of will fill up pretty quickly when you got people that want to rip a few drafts in one night. Let's see. All right, still only a couple that have trickled in. Let's see if we can maybe get a few more in here. While we wait, I'm going to try to see if we can't jam a few more people in here. Let's try this. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, we are 4 away. Let's see. Sorry for the dead air here. Just kind of hopefully getting some more people to trickle in, trying to get some more posts out there so that we can get a few more folks in the room to watch this draft. Really excited to bring you a big board draft. For those that haven't been drafting yet, this will be a chance to kind of see what the board looks like. Maybe kind of start thinking about how you might approach your teams and what your strategy is going to look like for the early part of the best ball season And then as we get into the middle of the summer and you guys start doing your Best Ball Mania drafts and your time box tournaments. All right, we're 2 away. So as I mentioned at the top, plan is to do 1 or 2 big board drafts tonight. With those big board drafts, I'm going to talk about certain players that I think may be overpriced or underpriced in different areas of the board. Really just trying to build a banger or two and put myself in position to advance for this tournament and hopefully take it down. A little bit about myself. My name's Matt Hosel. I'm a software developer by trade and been playing fantasy football for probably a decade and a half at this point. Got real serious in the last 5 years. Started building models and applications that help me improve, both my best ball drafting skills as well as my dynasty teams and my redraft leagues, my home leagues that I play with friends. So we are 2 away, and in once this puppy fills up, hopefully we will get a good draft spot and rip a banger here, put together a good team for the big board, and add that to the portfolio. And yeah, just keep this going. So I did have a couple streams yesterday. So if you guys didn't weren't here for those, go ahead and check those out. Those I think we put together 3 pretty solid teams for the big board portfolio, and really just looking to try some different strategies depending on where we are positioned on the board. Been doing a lot of robust RB and some hero RB. Haven't really done any zero RB drafts yet, but we'll kind of just, as I learn the board a little bit more and where players are overpriced or underpriced, I'll start to build from the back of the draft board as opposed to right now where I'm still kind of building from the front as I'm learning where each players are. I think once you really start to master the draft board and you understand where players are sitting and kind of where they're moving, that'll give you a chance to kind of build from the back and kind of build from the back of the board first. So we got the 109. Looks like we're in a room with all but a couple badges here. So this should be a good time. So for those that are just coming in, we're about to rip a big board draft. And we are at the 109. And we'll just kind of see how this board starts to fall and go from there. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to drop those into the chat and I'll try to get to those as we're drafting. This is my 3rd stream of the year, so I'm still a little rusty, and appreciate any grace you guys give me. I am getting over a cold as well, but have been drafting for a few weeks now, so I'm starting to learn the board, and we'll have some opinions about players, those that I think are really overpriced or underpriced, and give certain areas of the board. Try to talk through that as we go through this draft. If you like the stream, give me a like or a follow on Twitter, trying to build my brand. And then also feel free to check out the website, fantasyfitness.io, a project that I'm working on to help you guys become better fantasy football players. And obviously myself included in that, that's the impetus of the project. So here we go. We've got 2 off the board, pretty standard start here with Robinson at the 101 and Gibbs at the 102. Puka. Let's see. Appreciate y'all coming in here to watch a late night best ball draft. I'm doing this one solo, but I will say as the season goes along, I am going to have a lot of guests. I'm hopefully going to be doing most of these drafts in tandem with some of my best ball streaming buddies. And hopefully we can bring a lot of value to you guys and entertainment as we go through the summer. And I get to know my audience better, and we build, we build this up together. So we've got JSN at 5, Taylor, and then St. Brown and Lamb, and we are on the board at the 109. I think here, although Christian is, going to carry a little bit more risk, I do like this price at the 109. You could maybe make a case for Cook. Not so sure about HN with all the systemic risk down there in Miami. That seems to be a organization with a lot of turmoil and chaos. New coaching staff. I just think there's a lot more risk there for HN. Cook, I think he's in a good situation and he's younger, so you could probably make a case for Cook over McCaffrey. But beyond that, I think this is a good solid place for McCaffrey to be going. Kind of just given everything going on there in San Francisco relative to the players around him. Coming back here at the 2-4, JJ goes, and I would have liked that pick. Got a lot of concerns about Malik Neighbors, Drake London, and even maybe to some extent Saquon. I'm going to go ahead and I guess you could say pull up the demon himself, Jeremiah Love. If you guys are out there on X, you've seen all the posts this week where Jeremiah Love is just going crazy in practice. All his juke moves and spin moves and everything that this guy does on the football field. He's an amazing prospect. Some of the little bit of research I've done this year with some of his analytics, he scores out very impressively in my model, very highly. I think maybe even higher than any running back in last year's class by, well, it was close. I think he's kind of in the same area as Genty and Hampton, maybe slightly higher, but it's in that range. So, he's a very, very talented prospect. I think we all know that. So I'm going to take him here. He is involved in the passing game, as is Christian. So we've got an RB start here. So we'll call this a robust RB build. Loosely, we'll call it a loosely robust RB build here so far with Christian and Jeremiah Love. I think that's a pretty good start. I'm excited about kind of how this thing got kicked off. And, I like Neighbors, of course, and London is okay, but like Neighbors, it's hard to draft a player who's coming back from injury over somebody like Jeremiah Love, who we know is healthy, and he's going to go very highly in this draft. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys disagree with that or how you feel. But I think this is a good pick here with Jeremiah Love at the 2.4. As we kind of finish out this second round, Bowers goes, and then Henry, Pickens, and Collins. This is pretty standard here. Ken Walker the third, first pick in the third round, Olave and Jacobs. And then we have Bucky. Reese will be coming up here shortly. Guys that I'm not really clicking right now in this range, Rashee Rice. I think some of the players around him, it's always about opportunity cost for me. What's the next best thing that I'm giving up if I take this player? If I take Rashee Rice, what am I giving up? Well, I'm giving up Ted. I probably prefer Ted over Rashee right now. I'm giving up AJ Brown. Maybe not so much T Higgins. I think he should go a little further, but I like, this is interesting. I'm going to go down and get Garrett Wilson here. I don't know how you guys feel about that pick, but I like Garrett Wilson as a talent. I think he's, due for some positive regression. I think this is obviously, maybe a little I think this is just a good price for him. I mean, I have as many concerns as, if not more, about Rashee Rice. T. Higgins is fine, but, just kind of mix it in with some other players. I would like to get Zay back here. I think he's, priced really well in this range. Obviously, if Rashee keeps falling, that's a consideration. But I have been clicking a lot of Zay Flowers in this range. Jameson Williams as well. I think he's a great best ball player. I don't have as much trust in him as I do Zay, but he does have the huge ceiling game. So with these two on the board, I don't have any real like divisional correlation or anything that I'm building out right now. So I'm just going to go with the player I prefer in this range, and I'm going to get Zay Flowers. So after starting off Christian McCaffrey and Jeremiah Love, come back with Garrett Wilson and Zay Flowers. So pretty good start so far, I would say. I think we can all feel pretty confident with these four players that they're going to have a lot of spike weeks. And in general, I think for those running backs, a lot of touches in both the rushing and passing game. Kind of just recapping the board, seeing if there's anything unusual. I mean, it seems pretty status quo up to this point, maybe outside of the Rashee Rice fall here by, around half a round. Other than that, things seem pretty standard. Other players I like right now in the fourth round, Colston Loveland. I think he's a solid pick here. He's going a full, what is that, 2 rounds? Or, yeah, 2 rounds past Brock Bowers. We saw how he finished the season last year in Chicago. I mean, he was awesome. He's super athletic. He's great in the blocking game, so he's going to be on the field often. And he's in that Ben Johnson offense where they like to pass the ball a lot. They're obviously ascending with what we saw last year, just throughout the season, the playoff game, of course, against Green Bay, and then even the game against the Rams. I think they were, putting a lot on tape there. Colston Loveland in particular, and Luther Burden as well. Let's look at the board real quick. I love grabbing one of these rookies in this range, be it Cardinal Tate or Makai Lemon or Jordan Tyson. I think it's nice in best ball to add one of these stud wide receivers if you can get one, and you kind of get that rookie upside for, late season when we want those rookies to really start, where they really, hopefully they start really going off on their teams. Other guys I like though, Christian Watson, I think he's a good pick here. Brian Thomas, he was going around later a couple weeks ago, so he's kind of steamed up a little bit. But yeah, it's between Makai Lemon and Jordan Tyson because I just want to grab some rookie upside. And I'm going to go with Makai Lemon this time. Been kind of just mixing it up between Tate, Tyson, and Lemon. I think that's probably a good strategy since we really don't know what teams they're going to be on, what draft capital they're going to get. I think the consensus is that all three of those are really strong wide receiver prospects. But since we really don't have any more information than that, kind of makes sense to just kind of spread it out in your portfolio for right now and, get a little bit of all three. Why not? So I really want to just keep building out wide receiver as well as get quarterback where it makes sense. I'm going to go Jayden Daniels. I don't need to stack Jayden Daniels because he's so involved in the rushing game. If you get a stack with him, that's fine, but that's not necessary. I think he's due for a bounce back season. He looked really good the year before last as a rookie. Obviously dealt with a lot of injuries last year. Team just couldn't really get off the ground. So I just think in general, Washington had a bad year. So I'm looking for a bounce back year from Jayden Daniels. And with where he's going off the board here at 64, I think that's hard to pass up. And I like to have one, if I can get like a really awesome, like top 10, top 5 even quarterback, and then, mix in another quarterback or two, just where it makes sense the rest of the way. Obviously, I would love to get a stack going, but with this roster so far, nothing's really standing out. Maybe Purdy potentially, but I'm not too concerned about it. All right, let's see. Head back to the board. It's always good to kind of just see what other teams are doing, check out the board. Lots of quarterbacks. So we kind of had our quarterback run here in the 6th and a little bit here in the 7th. 4, 5 out of 7 picks were quarterbacks in the 6th round there. Guys that I feel like are probably just a little too expensive for me. Like, I don't know. You guys may disagree, but Parker Washington at 67. I mean, I know he had like a few good games there at the end, but before that, it took some injuries. It took some, bad year on Brian Thomas's part. I'm a little reluctant to pay, round 6 prices for somebody who wasn't getting a lot of playing time before last year. I don't know. You may disagree, but that one's tough for me. Focusing on the board real quick. Interesting. All right. I'm going to go with Tucker Kraft. I think we saw, his upside last year when he had multiple 30-point games. Obviously, he's coming back from an ACL, but that happened earlier in the season. And those injuries tend to be, shorter recovery times than things like Achilles. So I'm hopeful he'll be back pretty early into this season. And, we're really playing for week 17. So with his upside and some of the other, pass catching wide receiver or tight ends off the board at this point, I think he's one of the few, dynamic players, really dynamic players worth grabbing here. Kind of just looking down the board to see what else is here. Not pulling the trigger on QJ in this range. I think that's just a little too rich for my taste. I know he kind of came on a little bit last year, but not paying these prices. Interesting. I think I'm just gonna get Herbert here and try to backstack him with a couple guys, maybe Gadsden, maybe Trey Harris. I could probably stop at 2, although in these 20-round big board drafts, I've been typically drafting 3 quarterbacks. But in a case like this, where I've gotten 2, top 5, top 7 quarterbacks, I may just stop at 2 and really load up in these other at these other positions. So we'll just kind of have to see how things go here. But so far, I like this team. We'll recap the team real quick. Went earlier than I normally do on quarterback in terms of getting 2 of them at least, but did pick up Jayden Daniels and Herbert, both a few picks past ADP. Started off running back, and went Christian at 9 and Jeremiah Love at 16. Feel really good about that start. Kind of took the pressure off at running back there, and then tried to load up on some wide receivers and went with Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, and Makai Lemon, the rookie out of USC, who's a total stud. And then took Tucker Kraft pretty much at ADP here. to get my first tight end. So that's the team so far. 7 picks away, and we'll see what happens next. So as I mentioned, I'm a software developer by trade, and what project that I've been working on is fantasyfitness.io. With this app, I pull in the top headlines for the day. I spotlight players, teams, and prospects that you can check out. Each player and prospect gets their own profile page. We've got a couple algorithms that we're using to kind of assess their talent. And then we also have some other metrics there I'll show you in a second. I think Addison would be kind of cool here to kind of add to the wide receiver room. Even Xavier Worthy to some extent. Otherwise, I like Monty. I think Rico, if we're talking about, asset pricing here, I think Rico's gotten really steamed up the board. I think a lot of people aren't necessarily familiar with the fact that he's a free agent. We don't know if he's coming back to Carolina. We don't really know where he's going. He obviously did have a good season, but there's a lot of uncertainty about his role on what team and where going forward. So I think he's mispriced at this point. I want Jordan Addison here. I know there is some risk with McCarthy and what he put on tape this year, which was very scary. But when we're talking best ball, we don't. Somebody like Addison, we don't need a lot from him in order for him to, really spike in any given week. He has that, deep threat ability. He has the touchdown upside. He can score quickly and score points quickly. He's a lot like JMO in that way, but he's about half the price. And I'm not saying it's the same situation. Obviously, the quarterback's different. I'm just, using him as maybe a little bit of a comparison. Keeping this going, we definitely have some wide receivers here. To pick from. And sorry, I kind of went silent there because I'm in deep thought trying to figure out what I want to do. Okay. So we could go Xavier Worthy or Chris Godwin. Man, I think I'm just gonna go Xavier Worthy, although I am tempted to go Chris Godwin. I like the value that I'm getting here with Xavier Worthy. I think he's due for a little bit of a bounce back season. I wasn't drafting really any of Xavier Worthy last year. I thought he was overpriced in the 4th round where he was going. Maybe it was the 5th round, but I just felt like his price was way too rich last year, and I avoided him. And I think that was overall, I thought that was a pretty good move. This year, I kind of feel the opposite, and this is how I generally treat players. Like, I'm never out on really any player. It's all relative to cost. And in this particular price, I think we're getting Worthy at a much better price. Obviously, some of that is the fact that we're not exactly sure what's going on with Patrick Mahomes and what his timetable looks like and what the quarterback situation is going to look like there. But I do like his price a lot more this year than I did last year. And so we'll go ahead and take him 15 picks past ADP. I don't really have a particular stack going here, at least not at this point. So that being said, it's kind of, I'm just kind of looking for value. But let's recap the team real quick. Jayden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Christian McCaffrey, Jeremiah Love, and then Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Makai Lemon, Addison, and Worthy. At this point, I'm going to want to get back into the running backs and also probably tack on a tight end relatively soon. But I want the focus to shift here to the running backs. And this is a good range where I think, it gets back into some rookies, maybe like, somebody like Emmett Johnson, although I'm not sure if that's a good price. We got J.K. Dobbins. And then after you get past some of these older guys, a few rounds later, you get some nice picks like Spears, Charbonnet, Rashad White. I like all of those picks. I mean, really everybody kind of in this range, maybe outside of like Jonathan Brooks. I'm just worried about his injury situation. So let's see. 3 picks away, excuse me. Okay. Go with a little bit more certainty. Get Dobbins here. I do like Emmett Johnson, but I already have one rookie. I'm going to go ahead and take Dobbins. I think that's a solid pick. Not an amazing pick by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's just a solid number 3 on a good offense. Let's see what happens here with these next few. Alrighty. Well, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and tack on to this tight end room. I like Benson to an extent, but I think there's a lot of systemic risk down there in Arizona. New coaching staff, not really sure how good of a talent Trey Benson is. We really just haven't seen it yet. You know, a couple of good preseason games, which I don't put a lot of weight into, and then did okay during the first part of last season, but then got hurt, had the meniscus issue, I think it was, and then was just out for the rest of the year. So, you know, what is Trey Benson? I think that's the question we all are trying to answer at this point in the fantasy community, and I don't really have a good answer. So no real reason to take him there when I know how good Dallas Goedert is. Now he is a free agent and he may not be back in Philly this year, and that's okay. I like the talent. You know, he may end up on somebody like the Broncos. I don't know. That's a possibility. Um, you know, they've struggled to find a good tight end for a few years now. Evan Ingram had a really bad year last year. You know, some of that can be attributed to injuries, but he never really clicked with Bo Nix and that offense. And so who knows? Maybe I'm speculating, of course, but even the point is to say that even if Dallas Goedert doesn't end up back in Philly, I think he's a pretty prized free agent tight end, and he's probably going to end up in a pretty good situation where he's going to have a pretty solid role. That should help, you know, shepherd me along a little bit here with Tucker Kraft's situation. I think that adds, you know, some nice texture to that room. 8 picks away, and we'll kind of just see. We're getting back into that range that I like with guys like Tyjae Spears and Rashad White, Zach Charbonnet, although he's injured, so I'm a little reluctant to draft him right now. And then you get some of these older or more injured guys and like Aaron Jones and Jonathan Brooks. So hoping for one of these 3, but we'll just have to see what the board wants to give us this evening. But that would, you know, any of these 3 would be a nice 4. Don't know if the market's going to give it to us, but we'll see. And they're going pretty quickly. So down to Sharps. There's Aaron Jones, Sean Tucker. Actually, I think Sean Tucker too. Okay, Kenyon Sadiq. Well, you guys are going to do this, then I'm just going to get my 3rd quarterback and soak that up, because I'm not going to take Zach Charbonnet over Cam Ward at this point. I think that would be kind of silly. You guys probably agree with me on that. I get my third. Like I said, this is a 20-round draft, so typically taking 3 quarterbacks, and you can see a major tier break after Cam Ward, because you're going with guys like Daniel Jones, who's coming back from an Achilles, Michael Penix ACL, and there's nothing really there left on the board. JJ, I guess, of course, down in Shedeur, but a significant tier break. And ways to backstack Cam and Cam with either DK or A.O. Manor, and then, as I mentioned, with Herbert, there's Trey Harris down here. All right. At this point, I'm going to go with Sean Tucker. We know that Rashad White's not going back to Tampa Bay. We saw Sean Tucker in, somewhat of a limited role last year, but when he was playing, it was pretty solid. He's not super involved in the passing game, so that's obviously a bit of a disappointment. I would have liked one of those other guys I mentioned, but I'm still okay with this pick, and I think it's a decent running back room. I want a little bit more there. Feel really good about the other rooms, but I definitely want to try to get a little bit more out of that running back room with kind of where we're at here. And there's a few guys coming up that I like. We'll see what happens. Appreciate y'all being here. If you guys are having a good time and enjoying the stream, definitely give me a follow on Twitter so you guys will see these future streams come in. I'm going to be streaming, hopefully 3-4 times a week, sometimes twice a day, depending on, what my schedule looks like with my contract work that I get as a software developer. It gives me some flexibility to kind of work and stream a little bit, not totally when I want to, but I probably have more flexibility than most people. So yeah, anyways, definitely follow me so that you can see when I'm going to be live on either YouTube or on X. So I'm going to go ahead and mark DK because that would be a stack with Cam Ward. I'm also going to mark off Vidal because I like him here in this range. Other guys that I'm in on, Trey Harris, definitely some Trey Harris, and then Dylan Sampson as well. See if I can get one of these players. Oh, and Trey Tucker, of course. Of course, Trey Tucker. Why am I taking Joe Mixon if I can take Trey Tucker? Come on now. Okay. I'm going to go with Vidal because I think there's a significant tier break after Vidal here. It's Vidal or Joe Mixon, and that's not even a conversation. I also have the pass catching with Herbert, so I get a little skinny stack going. Maybe can add Trey Harris if he's still there. That would be kind of cool to just double up on some Chargers real quickly. If not, there's DK, there's Trey Tucker. But that was a solid pick. I was very happy to get Kamani Vidal right there for this room. Feel much better with him as my 5. They're going to get a major, speaking of the Chargers, that is, they're going to get a major upgrade at the offensive line this year. Both Joe Alt and Rashad Slater are coming back at the bookends. So much better tackle play, much more consistency I think you're going to see in the passing game, pass protection. And then the running game, I think, is going to be much more solid too. I'm going to get either DK or Harris here because they're both, I'm going to, based on where I'm at here. So we'll see if they're both there. If one's gone, I'll just take the other. But this will definitely help kind of build out my stack a little bit. So it's DK or Harris. That's tough, but I'm gonna go Harris. And A.O. Manor's another round back, so that's why I'm kind of thinking go Harris and then get A.O. Manor if I can on the next round. But yeah, let's go ahead and review this team. I think this is a banger, right? I mean, Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Cam Ward, Christian McCaffrey, Jeremiah Love. We got Dobbins and Tucker, who are just kind of, some solid, maybe some more floor plays, but definitely going to have a lot of usable weeks. And that's something I think about. They definitely could be live week 17. Should definitely have roles, assuming that they're not injured. And I know, that's been an issue for Dobbins, but we're going to assume health here. And then Kamani Vidal, number 2, really established himself, put it on tape this year. Had a couple really long receptions. I think he had like a 65-yarder in there towards the end of last season. So, I mean, he's definitely explosive, a little smaller, but involved in the passing game. And if anything happens to Omari and Hampton, wheels up for him. And then at wide receiver, we have Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Makai Lemon, Jordan Addison, Xavier Worthy, and Trey Harris. And then tight ends, Tucker Kraft and Goddard. So definitely want to add one more tight end to this roster. And then, a couple more, the running back and wide receiver. We're done at quarterback, obviously, but I'm going to say it anyways. For those that don't know, I am done at quarterback. Again, thanks everybody for dropping in. Really appreciate everybody being here. It's my 3rd stream of the year, so apologies if I'm a little rusty. Trying to be up on all the players, trying to, kind of share my thoughts on some of the pricing on the board and, really just kind of take you into, I guess, my mindset a little bit when it comes to trying to build these banger big board teams, rosters, whatever you want to call them. Looking at a couple Tennessee players here, we'll see if either of them are on the board. They might both go. That happens. If it does, that's okay. We're going to regroup. Mike Washington, hell yeah. Okay, Alec is still there. Definitely thinning out there. But yeah, I'm going to take Alec. Let's get that. I talked about him before. He was on the board. Not going to change my strategy. I know I could use a tight end, but I'm going to take a little risk here. Think we're maybe adding one more wide receiver. We'll see. We're at 7. Yeah, probably maybe add one more. I'll just kind of see how this board goes. Do you like Ray Davis, Caleb, Mike Washington Jr.? Do need that 3rd tight end, though. I think with just the fact that Kraft isn't fully healthy. We'll see. I'm not going to force it. Like Pat, don't love Pat. I like the upside of Mason Taylor. I have a couple of Jets pieces. Can consolidate around that a little bit. All right, we'll do it. We can call it done at the tight end position. We'll go Mason Taylor here. Obviously, he's not on the most outstanding offense, but hopefully, there's some upgrades there. Think he's a good, has a chance to be a good 2nd year, player to break out a little bit. He did show decent amount his rookie year, but obviously with just the state of that offense, it was really hard to kind of assess what his talent was. He did have some nice plays in preseason, but preseason doesn't count. But that being said, we're going to roll with Tucker. Goddard, and Mason Taylor. And then, as I mentioned, we've got where we're also done is quarterback Jayden Daniels, Justin Herbert, with whom we've stacked with Vidal and Trey Harris, and then Cam Ward, with whom we've stacked with Alec Eomanor. So pretty solid so far. I want to add one more running back with certainty, and then either another 2 running backs or another wide receiver. Guys I like in this range, Jalen Knoll is just too cheap. Too cheap. Keenan Allen, I guess, with the situation I've got here. Cooper Kupp, sure. Caleb, Ollie Gordon, Jordan James. Yes, Jordan James. Thank you. Allen. Some uncertainty there. Isaiah Davis. I guess I have a little bit of a Jets thing going here, which is kind of embarrassing to say, but it's the truth. So let's just take it head on, I guess. Two more picks, and then we will recap this team. And yeah, we'll go ahead and probably do one more draft after this. All right. Let's get the running back. No, let's not. Let's get the wide receiver, and let's go Jalen Knoll. It's 3 running backs. I think Isaiah Davis will for sure be there. Maybe not Jordan James, but yeah, I really like Knoll. And then we've got some divisional correlation with Tennessee, so there's a chance he could be there for a Week 17 matchup between Houston and Tennessee. Since we don't know schedules yet, I kind of like to play that divisional game a little bit. And yeah, I think Knoll's got a chance to really break out. So I'll get one of Jordan James or Isaiah Davis here as my last pick. And we're going to go Jordan James. Better offense. No, actually, I got Christians. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, actually. Let's go Isaiah Davis. Oop, almost made that mistake. I don't know if it would be a mistake with certainty, but Breece isn't probably going to be back in the Jets. They're talking about tagging him, but let's say he's not back. Isaiah Davis did have a few games last year where he came in and split time with Breece, and in the the small role that he did have a nice yards per carry. I know that doesn't mean a ton, but he was getting some playing time. If Breece isn't back, you've got Braylon Allen. What does that mean for Isaiah Davis? I think he's going to have a role. So yeah, that gives us our 6th. So let's go ahead and recap the squad. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. So at quarterback, we went naked Jayden Daniels. We went Justin Herbert and Cam Ward. Justin Herbert is stacked up with Kamani Vidal and Trey Harris. And Cam Ward is stacked up with Alec Eomanor. So at running back, we've got Christian, Jeremiah Love. We started off running back in this draft. Added Dobbins at 129, Trey Tucker at 160, Vidal, as I mentioned, at 177, and then Isaiah Davis at 232. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Zay Flowers, Makai Lemon, rookie demon out of USC, Jordan Addison, a little bit of value there, Xavier Worthy, that was about a round plus past ADP, Trey Harris, as I mentioned, Alec, as I mentioned, and then Jalen Knoll as our 8. And then at tight end, we have Tucker Kraft, Dallas Goedert, and Mason Taylor. So let me know what you guys think of this team. I think it's a pretty solid squad. Yeah, but to be determined, I guess we can say. We'll head back here and we will do one more big board and then we'll call it a night. Go ahead and let's get into it. So we're 7 picks away. Appreciate y'all being here. For those that don't know, my name is Matt Holzel. I'm a avid fantasy football player, best ball drafter, dynasty fantasy football player as well. And then I'm in all my home leagues with my buddies, those redraft leagues that we all play in for bragging rights with our friends, I guess you can say. I'm a software developer. When I'm not playing fantasy football, I'm writing code, developing apps. One of the apps that I'm working on that relates to what we're doing here today is fantasyfitness.io. It's a platform where you guys can go and learn about players. So it's got player profile pages. I have this fun feature called the front office where you can sit in your front office, you can look at your trophy case, you can go into your contacts, call your buddies, talk some smack, dial it up on the phone, or you can just go to your computer and that takes you into here, which is kind of your computer view, if you will, and you get top headlines and up to 50 articles. These get updated 5 times a day, and I'm pulling in from 5 major sources, so you can keep up on fantasy football news. I've got player spotlights, team spotlights, and upcoming prospect spotlights. You can integrate your rosters if you play on Yahoo, FFPC, or Sleeper. You can pull your rosters in to the app. You just set it up with your league ID. I walk you through it, and then what it does is it pulls in your rosters. You can see some analytics about your teams. You can run some AI insights about your teams. You can see the landscape of your league in here. So this is my individual profile page for my team. But what this also allows me to do is go over here to league rosters. It loads up the division standings and also loads up all of your leagues, your league mates rosters, so you can see who's on their squad at kind of this bird's eye view and what draft picks that they have. Again, this is speaking to dynasty players. If you're in the audience, you can run different trade scenarios. You can just do trade analyzer where you set up the players, trading away specific players or trading for specific players. Surprise me, or you can ask a question and engage with my AI integration for your different teams to help you try to get an edge in your leagues. And then you can also see team matchups and what that's going to look like as the season goes along, and your records against each team in your league. So that's the roster integration. As I mentioned, you got news, and then you have all these player profile pages, so you can click on an individual player and get a player breakdown, team stats, athleticism, team environment, tail of the tape, and then positional competition, a little bit of a breakdown about the coaching staff on each team. You can get AI insights about this player. I'm still tuning this, so lot to go here in this area, but it kind of gives you a breakdown of the team, the situation, if that team is run heavy or pass heavy or balanced, and if that's a good asset. A little bit of history about the player, when height, weight, age, where they got drafted, where they went to college, contract information for our dynasty friends, and then you can get out to their social pages as well if you want to engage in their social media. A glossary in terms of different terms for fantasy football, and then your profile. So that's fantasyfitness.io. Definitely worth checking out. Lots of free features in there, and then obviously I have some subscription tiers as well. But yeah, go ahead and check that out if you guys have a minute. Getting back to the draft. Waiting for, oh, we just filled, so getting into it, and we are at the 108. I think that's where we drafted last time. So 2 drafts from the same spot. We'll see how this draft goes. And this one is almost all badges. I don't see any names in here that I recognize, but fantasy football or okay. Yeah. Anyways, let's get going with it. As I mentioned, I'm going to be doing a lot of streams throughout the entire summer. So hopefully 3 to 4 times a week. Like to take this evening slot. This is a little later than I'll probably be doing it, but the late night, I do have some buddies that also stream at this time, so I'll be on with them or they'll be on with me. But to fill the demand for best ball content, best ball drafting, some people like to just come into these rooms and listen while they're working. It's like the radio or whatever for them, and they can kind of just listen in the background and hear drafts go off. So kind of fill those voids. I'm hoping to provide some good content and be somebody that you guys enjoy listening to. But would definitely love the feedback. Hit me up on X or YouTube. Give me a follow. Provide me some feedback in terms of what it is you guys want. And if there's anything that I can do better to provide value, let me know. I'm doing that research myself, but I'd love to get the feedback from you guys too. All right. So I guess McCaffrey goes a little early and Jigba falls a spot. This one's pretty easy for me. I'm going to go ahead and go Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yes, I am going to take him over CeeDee Lamb for those that are wondering in the audience. I think his situation is much more clear. His role is so well established. The number of targets he receives every season is just so solid. Lamb's got Pickens now. I think that for one probably drops him down a spot or two. And yeah, I just think there's a little bit more uncertainty there on that team, what that offense looks like. Are they more run heavy now? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. Don't love the coaching staff. But yeah, give me St. Brown at the 108. I feel good about that. Coming back around the turn here, we had Genty right after Brown, then Lamb, Cook, and Hampton. Hampton gets pulled up a little bit. London gets pulled up a little bit, I guess. I'm still not. I've never really understood the infatuation with Drake London going at the 1-2 turn. I don't get it. Okay, Love goes off right before this. I know that Trey McBride is awesome, but I have my concerns about that offense. Yes, even more so, I think, than my concerns about Las Vegas. Also think Bowers is probably a better talent in a vacuum to Trey McBride. I mean, we can definitely have that debate. But new coaching staff, I'm not a fan of Nathaniel Hackett. I think we can all say that with a degree of confidence that he just has not been very good of late, be it his time in Denver, his time in New York, and now he's the OC for Matt LaFleur, the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. So give me Trey McBride, give me Brock Bowers over Trey McBride. Give me Clint Kubiak offense right now with how he finished the year in Seattle with that Super Bowl victory and what he did for JSN and AJ Barner and Sam Darnold. I want to buy into that a little bit. So that's my spiel on Brock Bowers and Trey McBride. Take it for what it's worth. Back to the board to see the 2-3 turn. After Bowers, we had Barkley, then McBride. Collins goes a little early. Neighbors falls just a tad, injury related, I'm sure. Brown, and then we get Pickens, Olave. This makes a lot of sense to me, in all honesty. When I see this board, I think even HN going here, kind of the 2 with some of the systemic risk down there in Miami and what's going on with the quarterback. How's this new defensive coach gonna look? I think that makes sense. Definitely going after like Cook and Hampton. I might even have him go after Love, to be honest. But yeah, I think this board makes a lot of sense so far. Keeping it going. Let's look at this team. No running backs this time. As I mentioned for the last one, for those that have been here, we went robust RB with McCaffrey at 9 and Love in the second. I think it was 16, or I guess it would be 17. No, it was 16. Yeah, it was 9 and 16. Okay, let's like this. Higgins. All right. So for me, this is either Tet or Kyren. Yeah, Tet or Kyren. There's definitely a tier break after Kyren. So I'm gonna go Kyren. I know this is not really following any specific type of build. We don't have robust or robust RB or hero RB. I guess this might turn into a hero, but yeah, this is just balanced at this point. I'm taking basically best player available, I guess, as I see it. So Kyren at running back, St. Brown at wide receiver, Bowers at tight end, and just getting a piece of everything. Speaking of players that I think are overpriced and not good clicks, I mentioned Rashee Rice in the last one. I just think he's still a little too high. And then at running back, I think there's definitely a tier break there between Kyren and Travis Etienne, or Etienne, if you want to say it that way. But I know he had a good year last year, but we were getting him at pick like 100, and now he's going at pick 36, which just feels very rich. He is a free agent, but he's been pretty inefficient between the tackles. Is good in the receiving game, but he kind of had an outlier year here in terms of touchdowns in the receiving game. So I don't know, probably some regression there. I'm not clicking Travis Etienne in this range. He's got to get cheaper for me. All right, Garrett Wilson. I just picked him last time. He got JMO. Gosh, am I going to take him again? I think I am. Well, I'm going to take Garrett Wilson again. Screw it. I like his price this year. Last draft, the one right before this, we got him at 33. This time we get him at 41. That's fine. I like this price. I like the player. I like the talent. JJ's got concerns, and he's going at like the 1-2 turn. Garrett's got maybe, yeah, definitely more concerns, and I know they're not the same player, and I'm not saying they're the same player, but we're talking about like 2 rounds difference. So I think at that pricing, and we look at the players around them, right? The opportunity cost. Got a very old Devontae Adams, JMO, who's great, but I don't think anywhere near the talent that Garrett Wilson is. I like Smith a lot. Not going to put McLaurin in that range at this point in his career. So yeah, I think that's a good pick at 41 for Garrett Wilson. Also like Travion, worry a little bit about what they're going to do with him usage wise, but he is so explosive and he can score from anywhere on the field. I like that price. Same with Harvey. And then you got Judkins, but he's injured. After that, I think there's probably a little bit of a tier break. Let's see. Slowing down a little bit here. Speaking of myself, that is. Been a pretty long day. These back-to-back drafts have been fun, but I'm getting a little worn down. I will say, I mentioned this before, I like this range for the rookies. Also like Christian Watson. I think Waddle's a little overpriced. I think he probably deserves to be behind most of these players, just given what the heck is going on down there in Miami. I don't know. They don't instill a lot of confidence in me in terms of the organization. That is, not sure what to make of the new coaching hire. I just think relative to Watson and how he looked last year, and that organization, Lemon, Tyson, I'm taking those guys before Waddle right now. Waiting to see what happens with Waddle's price. I think he could get cheaper. Got the Detroit thing going on here with St. Brown, so I'm gonna go ahead and scoop Watson here. Liked how he looked last year, coming back from injury. Have the divisional correlation between Detroit and Green Bay. Since we don't know schedules, that could definitely be a matchup. Judkins looked great last year at times. Then obviously had that nasty ankle injury. They did say he's out of the walking boot and will be ready for training camp. But with players like that, I don't know. I generally like to get a little bit more information before I'm pulling the trigger and kind of see where they settle in. Maybe his price is going to rise, and that's okay. But I just don't see a need to click him with some of the players around him. Turning into a hero build here, there's definitely a bit of a tier break, I think, coming up after guys like Stevenson, who just went, wow, okay. This might get extreme. Extreme hero is what I'm saying. Because I'm probably taking another one of these wide receivers, if I'm being honest. I do like Warren, but I can't take Warren over. No, maybe. I was going to take Tyson. That would have been cool. But I also like Mike Evans in this range. Joe Burrow, I don't have a stack. I don't really see a reason to necessarily do that. So let's go Mike Evans. I know he's getting up there in age. He's 32. But man, when he plays, he's so good. So we're going to go ahead and take that at 65. Give me some Mike Evans. This is the cheapest he's ever been drafted. And I get it. It makes sense, but let's roll the dice. Alrighty. Well, 11 picks away. Let's recap the team. So hero build, Kyren Williams as our hero, and then St. Brown, Wilson, Watson, Evans, and Bowers. Definitely looking at folks like Jordan Love on this team. Jared Goff. Those guys both make sense. Baker Mayfield. Definitely see reasons. Chris Godwin could get a double there. So thinking ahead a little bit. Let's see how this board falls. Parker Washington. Absolutely. do like Chuba. Alrighty. Let's see, 5 picks away. I guess let's get back to the board. All right, so after Evans, we had Burrow, Hurts, Sutton, Fannin, Williams, Metcalf. At the turn, Warren, Pearsall, Prescott, Pierce, Dart, Pollard, Warren. So interesting. Man, okay. I'm taking Jacoby Myers over Parker Washington. I'm sorry. I just have to do that. And yeah, we're going to do that. We'll go Jacoby Myers. I'm not, I can't pick Parker Washington over Jacoby Myers. Some people can, apparently. I can't. 6 picks away. Yeah. Okay, I like where this is going. Sorry for the dead air. Just kind of looking down the board. It just seems, tired. This area of the board is just really strange to me. There's no good picks. You kind of have your dead zone running backs a little bit. Then you get guys like Hubbard, Jadarian Price, the rookie out of Notre Dame, and then guys I like here at Algier. Not really clicking Rico in this range. I think that price is a little too rich. Super Beast is got a 0.421 build going. Make it a 0.521. All right, man. I'm gonna go Chuba. Like Chuba a lot. I think he's gonna get that number 1 role back pretty quickly in Carolina. Don't know all the reasons why he kind of fell off a little bit last year, but he was going in the 4th round. I think that was too rich last year. Now he's going in the 8th round, and I think that's probably maybe a little too low. So, like his price here, it's a nice second, not the most amazing second, but it's solid. Going to have a pretty solid role. We know he's on an ascending offense in Carolina. Wish he was a little bit more involved in the passing game, but I do think he'll have the volume and some of the touchdown upside. They do have a good O line, and they are getting better. They're building around with that offense with guys like Tet for 1, Coker for 2. So we'll just have to see where things go there with that offense. But I like it. Kind of got squeezed into a hero RB build, and I think he was a nice second piece to add. Otherwise, I got to get into some quarterbacks next and could kind of get squeezed out there. I mean, you start tight end and go our wide receiver heavy, your team is going to look a little bit different here, and it certainly does. So, yeah. I only like Algier. That was a guy I was kind of eyeing up. But I do like Montgomery as well. Also, a couple of the quarterbacks here. Jordan Love. We did lose Goff. That would have been a good one. Goff went kind of early there to kind of pair up with Gibbs and JMO. It's cool. That makes sense. Generally don't start with my first quarterback at 104, but kind of played the board a little bit and what the board gave us. So now gotta get some other pieces here. What do you have? You don't have any. He does have Tucker Kraft, so he might take Love. Hope he doesn't do that, but he might. He probably will. He didn't. Okay. We're gonna get Jordan Love. All right. We got the Jordan Love, Christian Watson stack. Well, interesting board. Like I said, I'm not clicking Rico, not only because I have a Carolina player, but he's a free agent. I don't know where he's going. I don't know what he's doing. He got steamed up, had a good year last year. I think this price is too high. Okay, Mayfield goes. If Mayfield didn't go, I would have went Mayfield. But since he went, let's go ahead and add Monty. Kind of have another piece of that Detroit build going. So now we have Monty and St. Brown. And then, if we get week 17, Green Bay, Detroit, then we got to bring back, got a game stack basically if we hit on a week 17, depending on how the schedule lays out. Nonetheless, we got divisional correlation. They play each other twice a year. That should be cool. So got our three. It's an interesting three. I'll say at the running back position, Kyron, Hubbard, Monty, but I don't hate it. Wide receivers, St. Brown, Wilson, Watson, Evans, Myers, and then Brock Bowers at tight end. Jordan Love is our first quarterback. Definitely got to get in the quarterback game here. Stroud, Bryce, Malik. 2 out of 3 of those would be nice. We'll see what happens. In terms of the wide receivers in this range, just some thoughts. I think Coker's probably just a little too high here. One, he was going ahead of Godwin there for a minute. Now I think they flipped, but that was pretty egregious. In terms of how I'm treating Matthew Golden and Higgins, I'm kind of just flip-flopping with those guys, taking turns drafting them, depending on builds and things of that nature. KC Conception, I think he's just too high, from what I've seen from the prospect side, production at the college level, not understanding that ADP whatsoever. I think he's going to be a faller as the summer goes along. I'm taking Samuel over him. I'm taking Samuel probably over all of these guys. I know he's a little bit older, but we know his role. Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of 2s and 1s at the quarterback, so I'm probably gonna just grab my quarterback here. Okay. Let's go CJ. Decided to go with CJ Stroud. Want to get that second quarterback before they get swallowed up here in the next 8 picks. May even go with another quarterback right after that. We'll see. But definitely didn't want to get boxed out with one quarterback and be drafting guys like Daniel Jones, JJ McCarthy, Shedeur Sanders. I don't like to play that game whatsoever. Mendoza, I understand if he comes back to me because I have Bowers, but I'm not going to obsess over a stack. You can get somebody like Stroud who's put it on tape for 3 years. I know Mendoza's going to be a high draft pick. I like what he's done at Indiana, obviously, with winning the national championship and everything that he's done there. But I'm not going to obsess over a stack and draft him over somebody like Stroud, with whom I know is good and has some pieces around him. So would I take him over Bryce? Yeah, that I could maybe get on. Bryce goes anyways, so they make my decision simple, and I get Mendoza as my third, and I get the stack with Bowers. So it all works out in the end. Now I can backstack Stroud with somebody like Jalen Noel. Another good piece with somebody like Bowers could be swooping up somebody like Schultz on a team like this. Terrence Ferguson, second-year breakout upside there. TJ Hawkinson, I think, is going late. So those are some later picks to probably get at the tight end position with this build that will give me some nice texture in that room, some potentially, some game stacks or second-year breakout upside with a guy like Ferguson, bounce back year with somebody like Hawkinson. So anyways, that's kind of how I see that with a build like this. Get back to work in this range with the running backs. I'm actually more of a fan of guys like Spears and Rachaad White over Jordan Addison, an aging Alvin Kamara, probably after Dobbins. I'm kind of just more in favor of these guys, but that's just me. All right. So you definitely want to add to the running back room. Next, kind of after solving the quarterback situation as best as I could there, I want to get back into the running back room, and then obviously we'll want to be sprinkling in our wide receivers and tight ends here. Excuse me. Getting a little tired, but we're gonna crank this out, and we don't take a single play off. Your next draft pick could be the pick that makes the difference and gets you your 200K. So let's get this puppy knocked out. Sadiq is pretty sweet too, although I'm more inclined to get running back. Sadiq is pretty sick. All right. It's between Spears and Rachaad White. I like them both. I like them a lot. I want some pass catching upside. I guess they both offer pass catching upside. Give me Rachaad White. I'll spread out my bets here. He's a free agent. He's gonna land on a new team. He's not coming back to Tampa. But I think he's gonna have a pretty good role as probably a number 2 on a team. Don't know that he'll be a lead back at this point, but if he can split carries with another player, maybe he goes to Las Vegas and plays alongside Genty. I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. Maybe ends up in Denver. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But he's going to be a pretty good free agent, I think. Like Jerry Jeudy here. It's just maybe a little bit of a tier break. Those would probably be my top 2 picks in this range. If I don't get that, then we'll just see what happens. I'll get one of the 2. think there's a chance to get some other running backs. So I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. It's pretty close between him and Spears for me, but we've got the 4 now, so I feel pretty good about those 4. Want to add a 6th. Want to add a 6th. What? Oh, I'll be right back. Sorry, kid's falling off the bed. Sorry about that. When you do these late night streams and you're a parent, and you have children, you sometimes have to leave the room and rescue your child who's getting wedged somewhere where they shouldn't be in their bed. All right. As I was saying, though, I think there was a little bit of a tier break there with Jerry Jeudy and kind of where his role is on his team relative to some of the wide receivers that come after him. So I feel good about that. Kind of picking him up. I'm not the biggest fan of Jerry Jeudy, let's be honest, who is. But I think just in terms of role, playing time, targets, what you get up to him and then what you get after him becomes much less clear. And so that's why I say what I say when it comes to why I selected him where I did. Alrighty. If you like what you're seeing, give me a follow on Twitter. Share the stream with a buddy. Come on, invite all. You dog, man. You dog. All right. Well, we'll go Samson. Really, none of these guys are all inspiring other than Sherratt and Trey Harris. But because of the nature of this build, I don't really need those players at this point. I would prefer a 5th running back and somebody with some pass catching chops. Dylan Sampson is that guy. Also have a little bit of thing going on here with Cleveland. So yeah, Dylan Sampson is my 5. Think this running back room, surprisingly, as late as I waited for it to kind of come together, came together pretty nicely. I'll probably want to go 7 on this particular team. At this point, I'm going to snag one of these 3 tight ends. They all make sense to me. Who's it going to be? Ferguson goes, so it's Schultz or Hawk. I get the stack with Schultz. Hawk, though. Oof. Week 17. Yeah, let's go Schultz. We'll just stack it up. I haven't got a ton of Schultz. Got some Hawkinson. I think as a talent, Hawkinson's more talented. Not sure about that situation as much. I think Schultz is fine. It's really kind of a toss-up for me, although, I think in a vacuum, Hawkinson is a much more talented, probably player. But it's not purely about that in best ball. If it was, I think it'd be much more easy to win. So we're done at quarterback. Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, with whom we've now stacked up with Schultz. Jordan Love, who's stacked up with Christian Watson, and Fernando Mendoza, who is stacked up with Brock Bowers. Trey Tucker, I do like him, and he would be a nice piece to add here. Obviously, that would stack up, but it's not a must. It would be nice. Not going to lie. He's not coming back in 7 picks, let's be honest. Tommy Two-Tone knows better. Tesla's cool, though, if he comes back. Otherwise, just kind of wading through this, I probably would go with Gunnar Helm. If he's there. Just talked about Mason. Parkinson's interesting, although he's probably not my first choice. Cato or Parkinson? I don't know. That's interesting. Don't necessarily need one. Ray Davis. No rookies. I got one rookie on this team. Okay. Gunnar Helm or Ray Davis. I think we go Ray Davis. Yeah, let's go Ray Davis. Because of the nature of this build, I think I just prefer to get to that 6th running back here. Get a little bit of a fall off. I don't know. Ray's got a clear path to playing time. If anything happens to James Cook, last year he's going in the 130s. This year he's going in the 200s. I think that's a nice 6th. Obviously, his very role, his role is pretty dependent on injury, but that's okay. There's more opportunity. There's one of him, and there's 3 sort of tight ends that I liked in that range. So go with the guy that there's one of, and then boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna get one of these 3. I think that's just playing the board smarter. I would have preferred Helm here, but I think Parkinson and Otten are both acceptable thirds on this build, especially with the Bowers. So, let's go Otten. I think I just like his game a little bit more than Parkinson. And the competition, he's going to be a free agent, so he's obviously going to probably try to pick a place to go where he's going to get more playing time. Obviously, some of that will be dictated by the market. But I think when you get somebody like Bowers to tack on a Schultz as a stack and a Otten, I think that's a nice room. This will probably end up being a 3-6-8-3 or a 3-7-7-3. Yeah. Yeah. I know where I'm going, though. I know what I want. I don't know if I'll get them to kind of get a double stack here. Jalen Knoll. Be a nice 7. And then Caleb, that's interesting too. Najee. Neil. Jordan James. Okay. Something like that. Something like that. Yeah. Appreciate y'all being here. I know it's gotten a little quiet. I'm just kind of focusing on the board. If you've been with me for the full 1 hour and 40 minutes, I hope you guys have learned a little something or at least been entertained. And of course, I have a crying child again, so we'll be dealing with the likes of that in a second. But yeah, appreciate y'all being here. If you like what you saw, give me a follow on X. I think that would be awesome and would help me out. If you didn't like what you saw, leave me a comment or send me a DM. Tell me what it is you didn't like, and maybe I can incorporate some changes into the stream. Trying to bring you player takes and get the double stack here with Jalen Knoll, CJ Stroud. And then we'll get one of these final running backs. I'm thinking, I don't know. Do you take is that enough? 1, 2, 3, 6. Definitely tempted to get that 7th. We'll see what the market leaves us here at running back. These guys all have 7. This guy has 5. These two guys have 5. So now I'm sitting at 6. Okay. Jordan James would have been cool, I think, for some of the divisional correlation. I don't really have much going on in the NFC, but we'll go Neil. We'll go Neil. I'm fine with that. I think that's a nice 7th. All right, let's recap the team. Got Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, and then Fernando Mendoza at run for the 3 quarterbacks. At running back, we have Kyren Williams, Chuba Hubbard, Monty, White, Sampson, Davis, and Neal. At wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson, Mike Evans, Jacoby Myers, Jerry Jeudy, and Jalen Knoll. And our tight ends, Brock Bowers, Dalton Schultz, and Cade Otton. So let me know what you guys think of this draft. I think it came together pretty nicely. I'll run it by my other best ball bros and see what they think. And, we'll course correct as the season and summer goes along. Excuse me. I'm going to go and end the stream here. We'll be back again tomorrow, midday, I'm hoping. If not, then I'll be on another stream in the evening with Nick Bocklage and Bindles and Zero Fuchs. They'll have the quad box going. So if you guys are around, definitely check them out tomorrow night on X and YouTube. We'll be going quad box and be doing a couple drafts. So I'd love to have you guys there. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight, and have yourselves an awesome rest of the night and good day tomorrow. Peace.